Baby. Why do I keep saying that? It's because the reason why I keep saying baby, because you know when you go on Instagram and like you go to your stories on Instagram and like you can add location. There's a location that's called Harlem, baby.
Harlem, baby.
So I'm always like, baby, let's go down to Harlem, baby. Let's quickly check into the bodega and get some food, baby.
Do you think our accent has... Are we started recording, by the way?
Yeah, why not?
Do you think
Well, you hit record, haven't you?
Yeah.
Work.
I think. Do we think our accents have become slightly Americanized?
No. Yes, no. Right. Do you know what I find? Do you know when I speak with Americans, I feel like I sound so British. Like all of a sudden, even though this is not true, I know, don't laugh, I feel like the Queen. I feel like
So you
for
feel
some
dead.
reason,
Dead.
the dead. I feel like I'm speaking the Queen's English. So like when
English.
so I'm like speaking to her, I'm like, oh hello, don't mind me, I'll have a little bit of tea.
Bombity pickle boo. Seven
Christine,
Sisters
okay,
Piccadilly
so,
Circus.
And what's
Hello,
funny,
Governor.
do you know, obviously we see a lot of comedy, and when we see comedy and they take the mick out of British people, that's how they speak. And then we're there like there's so many different ways we speak, but work. So yeah, I feel like I speak the Queen's English. And then there's times I'm with you where you point out stuff I will say.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not British.
Yeah, you're like, y'all can get this.
Yes?
No, you don't need to put it on. You're not the girls.
I love it. Right, that is one of my, isn't it a girls' pledge? I love the girls.
The girls.
I love that podcast. Crystal Versace and the girls. Yeah, they eat.
Is it because none of them follow me on social media? I'm like that aunt who's just pissed off at the kids. Like, our worlds don't collide. They shouldn't collide. And that's fine. But I'm like,
I just love them. They're also young, and it's just like it's so cool to see young people really working hard and doing that, and spilling their little tea and everything. And Crystal's mug is mugged.
What I love about their podcast is that it's self-produced.
Yes.
You know, do you know what I mean? Jesus loves a hustler.
Yeah.
That's my new thing to say.
Jesus loves a hustler.
Jesus loves a hustler.
Oh, speaking of hustle, I want to know something. Miss Husband.
Miss
Lady Bushra. What is it like being an artist over here? Like, what is it actually like? What's been the difficulty and how are you finding it? The children want to know.
Are you inviting me to talk about myself?
I am inviting you to speak about oneself. You have 2 seconds.
I love
Over.
working here as an artist. I genuinely love working as an artist here. You're not so much of a star here as you are an artist, if that makes sense, because in the UK, I found there was a lot of applause and cheer and people making footage and creating stuff, and you put it out and you do the meet and greets and all that jazz. Here, that's not the case. Here, it's more, I mean, obviously it is for A-listers and stuff, but like here, it's more a case of, okay, show us what you got. And New Yorkers, they are one of the toughest audiences. Like, they are not afraid to not laugh.
Oh yeah,
because like I've obviously done a lot of gigs, and there have been a couple moments where then there's been silences, but also like audiences are smart everywhere. They can sniff out a lie, but here they really can. Like if I try and Americanize myself, they're not having it. Do you know what I mean? They want you for who you are, and they have seen every trick. So they just want to see authenticity. So like, I'm never not going to wear a sari, and that I don't apologize for. I've never felt insecure about that. I probably feel less insecure here about it than I did in the UK, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, why is that?
Well, because here everything's just out there, and I haven't indulged in the drag scene here as much. Like I know the queens, but like I'm very much doing my own thing adjacent.
Yeah.
As a cabaret artist, as a showgirl, as a stand-up comedian, that's my sort of space. But it's the capital of the world, so like everything's here, and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? You get it's like, I always bring it back to Hiramandi, which is the Netflix show. there's a scene and like the curtains open and then there's this guy who wants to sell them a gramophone or something because obviously it's based in the 19th century, and he's like, oh, you look so beautiful, and she's like, shall we get to business? You came to show us some works, didn't you? Show us. And that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It's like you wanted us to listen, we're listening. That's what it feels like as an artist. Is there is opportunity, and that can be exhilarating. It can fill you with gratitude, but it can be really scary. If somebody says, oh yeah, come to my comedy club, you're headlining, I'm like, okay, great, woo. In the UK it'd be like, woo, yes, headlining, woo. Here it's like, okay, so you call yourself a headliner. What does a headliner do?
Are you the best one?
Yeah.
Are you best by country mile? Are you the? It is. And the pace?
Yeah, the
pace?
The pace is insane.
Honey.
And I have to give special shout out to the likes of Drew Tessier, who's fast becoming a good friend of ours, for Queer Comedy Festival, and the whole the comedy troupe, Tessa, Julian, Jeremy. They're all wonderful, lovely people, and the queer comedians here as well. To be able to perform in a comedy club that's on the same strip as the Comedy Cellar, and where all Hassan Minaj and Mateo Lane and everybody is literally just down the corner, down the road. To be able to perform in that sort of space is a dream come true. It really, really is. Obviously, it's not the same clubs, but within that vicinity, I wouldn't have dreamed of being able to do that, and it feels great. I'm not saying everything's perfect. It's not perfect, because things need to get up and out and bigger and blah, blah, blah. But I have to give it time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's really tough, that giving something time. And especially for people like us, I feel.
Yeah, and it's about letting go of one identity and getting another one.
Oh, yeah. So when you say letting go of like one identity and another one, I know this is turning into like an interview.
Yeah.
But I really want to do that. Just like, have you noticed any changes within yourself that have happened like rapidly, and what are they? Since
the biggest change,
New York, baby.
The biggest change I have noticed in myself is I have been rapidly humbled.
Ooh-hoo-hoo.
I have been humbled so hard since being here, both with like the opportunities and their lack of. It's like, do you want to be part of this show? Yeah, sure, fine. Oh, it's part of New York Comedy Festival, by the way. And it's like, oh, that's humbling, because I'm nowhere near the people who are opening and closing it. The headliner last year was Jimmy Carr. And obviously they have so many shows, like literally tens and hundreds of them as part of the festival. But I get to be part of that. And that's really humbling, because, the struggle was that I'm a South Asian and I'm UK and I'm doing Bollywood meets Vicky Pollard. And now it's like, okay, great. Do it then. Do you know what I mean? And that's really humbling. But then also, like, other stuff is like, get in face, get on the tube, on the subway, get on the subway, say hi to the crazy person, get off the subway, get to the gig, get ready within rapid time, get on stage, and then get out.
Oh yeah, it's like you've got 8 minutes, you've got 10 minutes, you've got 12 minutes, comedy, go.
It's no longer and I was known for like kind of being in and out, and I still am, but that was, and also the other thing.
There's no fantasy to feel.
There's no fantasy. Oh. Well, there is on the stage,
yeah,
and then
on the
that's
stage,
it.
But like,
that's it.
Next.
Afterwards, it's not the whoo, no, even then you're there to work. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a people's town, but it's a hustler's town. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I find really, really interesting. And then the other thing I was going to say, I can't remember what it was. But what about you?
What about me?
How is it different from the UK?
Do you know, I knew the question. I just loved doing that.
I knew.
What about me? Cheers, sweetie. With our little Capri Suns.
Who are not sponsoring this podcast. That's the other thing. Is I have found being able to get into spaces that I never thought was possible.
Yeah.
Here in the UK, it's a little bit tougher. I don't know why I'm such a hard sell for television in the UK. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. Like recently, I found out of some comedian. I'll tell you about them later. Who is, not cancelled, but just a very, very, very edgy. It's on television, but I'm a hard sell as a South Asian. Really? Okay.
It's always the case, isn't it?
But like here, it's like even through like PR events and social stuff, I have managed to rapidly find myself in front of people that I never thought I would have been able to. And I'm not saying, it's going to lead to stuff. It may not, but I've realized that like people are willing to listen to what I have to say. So I have to be mindful of what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can no longer be that ditzy drag queen who's like, yes, mama, I'm going to do this. And it's fierce, slay, hunty. That nobody cares about that. It's like you're competing with Broadway stars, off Broadway stars. You're competing with film, television, theater, you name it. So it's like, what is your offering? Who are you? What's your point of view? How can you do it? And how many people can you do it in front of? How many people are willing to see you? You know what I mean? It's very, very, very that.
It is a tough place. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone and everyone because it's a really tough place to be.
It's not for the faint of heart.
New York City is certainly not for the faint of heart. I mean, honey, like it will kill you. It will murder you. The city will kill you.
It'll do worse than that. It'll spit you out.
It will literally. The city will chew you up and spit you out anywhere and everywhere. But if you can get it right, I'm a massive believer in this, and you can stick with it, it will embrace you and it will reward you for the stick with itness. Because I could imagine what we've been through here, and it was tough. It's been tough, We could have just been like, let's just pack it in. But
what did you just call me?
I think our stick with itness will be rewarded. I truly believe that, and I do believe stick with itness is rewarded. So anyone listening to this, stick with whatever you're doing. Keep going, keep pushing, keep moving. And
it's a discipline of consistency.
Yeah, of course. And for me, I found myself, growing rapidly here, more independence, more in tune with who I am. And I feel like I'm refinding my voice again.
Yes.
I really am refinding my voice and just being matter of fact about stuff, instead of, I think I spoke about it a little on the last podcast, instead of like going to, there's so many creative queer spaces I was in the UK where I just go, because when I did start to speak, I would get shut down a lot.
Yeah.
Or there'd be some, and I'm sorry, there's only so much I can go and not say it was racial bias. There'd be even spaces I go into where I'd have no inhibition. Last year I was on the dance floor and people would come up to me, "Whoa, why are you dancing like that? You look silly."
Somebody said, "Are you allowed to wear a Santa Claus outfit?"
Yes.
In Manchester.
Yeah. And that's so many issues.
Whereas here in Harlem, we have Black Santa Claus.
Yeah, work.
Which I am obsessed with. I love it.
There we go. It's like there was such a rule book, and like you are brown, so you can only be here. And like getting told that, I love what you do for your lot, for your community. And I'm like, so what you're saying, what we do isn't for everyone. I get we're bringing a community and we're representing, but like it is for everyone. Why do you like to box us in, or when I'm not going to reveal certain things, but before we go to the break, or when you find out so and so stopped so and so getting on a TV show, or so and so stopped your bags. I'm like, why? Why would you stop someone's bags? Why would you stop our bags? What's the issue? And then I think I can't help going to the experience. I think racism has changed. They don't have to call you the P word, but sometimes I feel like go back to doing that because
this
underhanded, undercover racism that happens. I just had enough of it to the point where I'd stick to my little friends, and I'd just stay at home. I know, and that's so bad. It's not healthy.
No, it's not healthy. What I noticed was, let's take a break.
Yes, take a break,
and then we'll get into this because this is a good point. We're going to take a little break, and we shall be right back. Please listen to our sponsors. And we are back.
So what did you notice?
What I noticed is, as an entertainer, it was great. It was fulfilling. Audiences are brilliant. I love audience, but do you know what I mean? Audiences are always the best, regardless of where you're at. The people behind the scenes, that started getting a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. Like I didn't always feel like I was part of a community. I felt like I was an asset for people, and they could either, and it was a case of, let's see if I can manipulate this person or not. And I was producing shows and I was sort of paying for certain things, and then people were interested in me. And when I stopped doing that, they just moved away, and it was never about any sort of genuine friendship or interest. Or even if I'd get invited to certain events, it was to see who I got along with or I didn't get along with. And if I so much as even said a certain thing which I didn't find comfortable, um, it was like, oh, she's a diva. Oh, she's
Yeah.
doing this. Oh, really? And it was like, whereas, and this happens all the
You ask
time.
for water. You can ask for water, and you're a diva.
Yeah,
You can
that
ask for
happened at
like
times.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Whereas I could see the direct comparator of like, because I would come with you to shows and stuff. I could see the direct comparator of like how another queen, a white queen, would be treated compared to you, and I'd
Mm.
be like, this is wild. Like, y'all know what you're doing, or y'all can you not see this? It is just like so crazy.
Yeah, there's like a lot of ignorance in certain places and spaces, and like the whole gamut. I was like, I kind of got to a point where I was like, they're only going to be interested if I'm an issue. I mean, that's one of the reasons why my drag character is so larger than life and boisterous, because it is me reclaiming that stereotype. It is
Mm,
me saying, if this is the narrative, I'm going to take control of the narrative and I'm going to capitalize on the narrative.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, because art, I believe, is a mirror up to society.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like me doing what I'm doing and people resonating with it is showing that a, there are people like that, and b, I'm playing on a perception. I think people are in denial of just how radical you and I perceivably are. I remember a couple of times I made the joke. I was like, "Yeah, you're probably wondering why is my Uber driver here in a dress?" Do you know what I mean? And it got big laughs. Or when is he going to hand me a cheesy chips, or take it or whatever. I feel uncomfortable talking about this
I, I,
stuff.
I can tell
Yeah,
you're getting very uncomfortable
because I don't like bringing these type of things
because
up.
with you, often or not, you're very silent.
Yeah, I just get
Like
on with
you
it.
get on with it, and then you tell me don't bother, and I don't bother because of the aim of getting here. The goals and the aims.
Mm.
But like you get uncomfortable because I find sometimes you don't like to kind of see or admit there's an issue.
Yeah, you
You
kind of
don't
look to the
like
lightness and
to admit that you're treated a certain way. And I saw you, no matter how hard you tried to like be part of the drag community or make friends and stuff, but like it was just there were never that give back
yeah.
wasn't completely there.
I mean, there are some great drag
Of course
queens
there
out there,
are.
and there are some lovely ones, but even some that I would consider friends showed signs of being an adversary,
It's really sad.
which I thought was
It's
really
sad.
interesting. Or like, sometimes it'd say certain things or show certain things, and I'm like, that sounds kind of problematic. Like that, it
Sometimes they
doesn't.
say things and show certain things. I'm like, that is outright racist, but I need to stay quiet because if I
Yeah.
don't stay quiet, it means my husband's going to lose a certain gig or something's going to happen. You're going to shun us out of the community that we're trying to be part of.
I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand how the issue was always centered around me. I always felt that it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know.
No, no, say it.
It was just a lot of convoluted crap. A lot of the time, which I know it sounds like I'm just talking absolute nonsense, but like, yeah, I would have appreciated being seen at face value.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Here's an artist who's a comedian, and they do it from their point of view based on their own intersectionality.
Yeah.
That's it. Just as the same as anybody of any other race or ethnicity would do that, rather than being seen as diversity or
It
different
gets tiring.
or interesting. Do you know what I mean?
You want to
And
be
the
seen as an equal.
constant, yeah, and the constant not knowing. I'm like, girl, we've been here for decades. Like,
Yeah, you know what's
you
right and you
know,
know what's wrong.
yeah. So that was kind of exhausting, and just sort of the biases, and then on top of that, if you are somebody who wants to get somewhere, if you're career driven or whatever, then it's an added layer of an issue, and ultimately it just becomes really isolating. It just does, and that's an eventuality that many people face, regardless of race, religion, gender, creed, whatever. It just becomes isolating.
I always felt that you managed to create such a fandom across the world, and when you look at your statistics and stuff and analytics through Bushra. But the one place where I never felt you got your flowers was the drag community in the UK. I never thought you got your flowers.
But then at the same time,
but why do you need it?
No, but at the same time, like it's a competitive space.
It is, of course.
So like they want their flowers. Why would they go around giving you yours?
No.
But even despite that, there's a like.
But I'm going to interrupt you. But like you did something so crazy special with your drag and being South Asian, how much you grew it there, and you kind of shining a light on Desi drag as well there. Do you know what I mean? And what you did, I'm sorry, it was everything. It was everything. So like,
yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately you've just got to go for what you want to go for.
And I agree.
And kind of not really, like, racial bias exists. I see it. I've been witness to it, both positive and negative. Either you can fight and try and do something about it, or you just have to keep on going and do and pursue whatever it is that you want to pursue and not really worry about the rest.
See, I don't have that. Yeah, with the whole fight
like,
thing.
okay,
I don't have the fight thing. I'm just gonna work 10 times harder and get there.
Yeah, so with the drag scene, right, a really great example of it is PR events and premieres.
Yeah.
I am never on anyone's radar.
No.
Never on, and every single drag acquaintance, friend, even look at the Wicked movie premiere. I mean, my one thing that brings me comfort is knowing that Trixie Mattel wasn't invited either. So I'm like, okay, great. Her and me, we're with the same. But like, everybody's on their list. Everyone's on their radars. Everyone gets approached for the same corporate gigs and PR events. Like, they're all part of the same machine. I'm never part of that, and it's that in itself is, for me, it's evidence of the fact that like I'm very drag adjacent.
Yeah.
I'm not, but also in terms of my aesthetic, my comedy, my point of view, my performance style. Now I am very happy being drag adjacent. I'm not a standard drag queen.
Yeah,
I'm not. And I never will be, and I don't have any aspirations.
Wow, are you dragging them?
No, but no,
we live for them.
I've realized that, and just FYI, like, it's not just the race element; it's just everything together. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just.
What do you mean?
Okay, I'm backpedaling. That's what I'm doing. But yeah,
see, you do this.
I do that.
You struggle. Especially when
calling it out for what it is,
and then you get that. Then it gets to a breaking point. You really struggle calling race out for what it is until it gets to the point where it's gone too far. Till it's literally till someone's cut you out because you're brown.
Yeah, I mean, I lost gigs because of the color of my skin.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Do you know what I mean? Even like during the riots, I was like, the venue was like, oh yeah, no, we're going to still go ahead. And I said, yeah, but you do realize the riots are happening down the street and they are damaging people's property, including cars. I'm going to be in drag and I'm going to be coming out. And they were like, oh, we've got cameras everywhere. And I was like, great, you'll get a lovely picture of me being assaulted due to the color of my skin.
And that's wild to me.
And then, like, I had some people giving condolences, and one queen reached out and said, yeah, let's get you an alternative gig, which never materialized, which is fine. And then there's been other incidences where other queens have had unfortunate things happen to them, and the way I've seen people rally around them has been quite different to how I've seen people rally around me when during my time of need. That has been interesting. Or like,
even when you've reached out when something's happened, you get ignored.
Yeah, or even if I want to put on an event, or if I want to do something,
different rules.
It was a different rule book. And also, this is the other thing, right? I don't know, I'm proper ranting about this, is I felt that I had something to offer.
Yeah.
And over here, that is being exploited. in the best possible way, which is what I want. Over there, I felt in the UK, it was no, no, no. You look like this, therefore you need help.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need to move away from that narrative. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing a lot of interviews. I stopped doing a lot of things which were just about my story. I wasn't interested in just having my story told again and again and again about the poor brown boy whose mum and dad hated him and therefore he started doing drag. I was like, yeah, great, we've done that now. But like,
look where you come. Let's
yeah,
celebrate that.
Let's celebrate that. And here it's implied.
Yeah. So this is your story. Cute work. Everyone's story is that.
Yeah.
Now, where's the star?
Yeah.
What are you going to bring? What are you going to do?
Where's it? Not even star. Where's your art?
Yeah,
where's your artistry?
And that's great. It is really interesting because we it's just wild to think like we had the race riots in the UK and then it was just forgotten about. And coming over here and seeing the perception that somewhere else has of the UK has made me realize that, oh my God, people just think it's this really old, backwards, racist place where everyone goes.
And like, you have racism everywhere. Like you literally have it everywhere.
Oh yeah,
in like literally every country. I would say.
But we can only speak from our own experiences.
But yeah, you know? But like, I think the riots were something, like we always do, is something that we brushed under the carpet very conveniently. Oh yeah, it was something that was happening in the summer. I used to think of it as like, oh, a few bad eggs and a few bad apples and just get rid of them. And yeah, and even on Twitter, everyone was like, throw the book at them and they need the full force of the law against them. Now I'm beginning to see it differently in terms of like far right political parties gaining momentum, and left or right, whatever, I don't care. But if your rhetoric is based on race, or if it stokes the flames against people who don't look like you, then I think there's an issue. And that is what's been happening. And now I no longer see individual racist events as individual isolated events. I see it more of a tip of an iceberg. I see that as an amalgamation of loads of people's frustration and it bubbling over. I don't think it's just an isolated, horrible incident of this one individual who wanted to set fire to a hotel full of immigrants or whatever, asylum seekers. I think that is the feeling, the sentiment of a whole host of people, and I think we've got to start seeing it that way. In my opinion, and somebody might turn around and say, substantiate your claim or blah blah blah. And I did start assimilating this when I was in Manchester. And this is when I said the whole thing of like, oh, I'm not British, I'm a UK citizen. Even though I was born here, I do feel at times I'm seen as lesser than. I don't see myself as on the same footing as other people. And I don't know why. And I think this is one of the reasons why South Asians thrive in business, because it's like, oh, you don't want to see us front facing. Let's do the back end stuff and get into the same position, if not a better position. Yeah.
No, I agree.
It's a mess.
No, it is. The UK does have a chronic race issue. It really does. And the way I see it is history actually has an interesting way of repeating itself, but in different ways. There's certain things 50, 60, 70 years ago that would have been okay to do to people of color, but it wouldn't be okay now. So people do it in a different way. People will exploit and push the law as far as they can go, or tip over the law as far as they can go when it comes to racism. They'll do it in very, very different ways. So history repeats itself in a new way, in a different way. And girl, I don't even know anymore. Let's wrap this up, because let's wrap this up before I say something I might regret.
I think, this is quite a controversial
Honey, I didn't expect it to go here. I was like, baby, let's talk about NYC. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Bridge.
I think also, like, we talk about it. That's the thing.
Yes, we do.
But I think, and I have spoken about certain things behind the scenes with people of all race, religions, and creeds and stuff. And they've gone, yeah. Or like they've said, yeah, we have to navigate this world. Do you know what I mean? I think we're just kind of lifting the lid on it.
Oh yeah.
So it's interesting.
Or sometimes you say it to a white creative person and they just ignore it.
Oh,
baby.
On that note, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to us, watching.
Thank you.
Let us know what you think of it. positive comments only.
Bring it on.
We love you guys, but you
You
don't
don't
love
love
me.
me. Goodbye.